The first time that I came to the Faroe Islands was in 2010. There had been a Grindadrap in Klaksvik. I came there at the aftermath of this whale slaughter, and what I saw was 236 pilot whales lined up side by side, the result of 2 hours of absolute terror and horror. As I photographed these dead pilot whales, I remember seeing one of the pilot whales had been cut 6 or 7 times over her head before her spine was finally severed. 6 or 7 blows before she finally died. And I remember looking at this pilot whale and thinking that she looked like a cutting board. I've seen the effects of the Grindadrap on these pilot whales. I know how barbaric this practice can be. 1 year earlier, I was in Australia, where there'd been a pilot whale stranding in Tasmania. 54 pilot whales had stranded on shore. 53 of them were reintroduced back out to sea. 1 of them was left on shore as the weather turned bad. For 3 days, myself and other Sea Shepherd volunteers, together with the Park Service, worked to keep that one single pilot whale alive. We fought for 3 days to do so, and finally there was a break in the weather. We brought her down to the sea. We put her on a tow line between 2 jet skis, and as we took her out to open water, she started struggling against the tow line and broke free from it. What we saw from a helicopter is that the other 53 pilot whales that had been brought out to sea 3 days earlier were outside 200 meters from the shore waiting for her. They circled her, they nudged her, they played with her, and then all 54 pilot whales went back out to sea together. These pilot whales are intelligent creatures with complex social structures, unique family structures. There is a lot similar between us and them. They have the ability to do what's known as referential communication. They can speak about other pilot whales that aren't present in the group at the time. They even mourn their dead. These pilot whales have the same ability to feel fear and pain as we do. That is why we are here. That is why we are going to stand firmly and steadfastly and uncompromisingly between these whales and their killers. That is why we are 100% committed to getting in the way, to interfering with and stopping any Grindadrap from taking place. In the first week leading up to being here, one of the reactions we've received from the Faroese people is that they've been deeply offended by our logo for Grindstop 2014 because of its depiction of the Faroese flag. Captain Paul Watson would like to announce today that we have listened to the Faroese people. We understand that the Faroese flag is sacred to the people here, and therefore he has made the decision for us to change the logo, and the logo will be released following this press conference. The reason for that is that we are not here to be against the Faroese people. We respect Faroese culture, but the one thing that we will never understand and that we will never respect is the brutal slaughter of pilot whales. We have changed the logo to show that we are reasonable people, that we will listen, but that we are 100% unwavering in stopping a Grindadrap from taking place. Thank you. Take that.
Good morning. There are actually 2 components to this campaign. There is an onshore component and an offshore component. I can speak to the onshore component. We have volunteers from over 27 countries, numbering more than 500 now, who have applied to come join us on the ground here. We will be here until October. The onshore volunteers will be monitoring every killing beach, so we will know immediately should a Grind be attempted, and we will interfere and intervene as necessary. My background, I'm a retired United States federal agent. I spent my whole career walking into the middle of problems and stopping them, and this will be no different. We will stop the Grind, we will interfere, we will not allow this to happen. We'll all be able to answer questions, specific questions following Lamia's communication.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the offshore team leader. As you may have seen, we have several boats that arrived in the Faroe Islands. Their mission is to patrol and intervene in case of a grind. We do hope that we won't have to do it, but we will be ready to do it. I would like to point out, as Peter said, that we are not coming here against the Faroese people. The first time I arrived here in 2010, I didn't have the chance to meet a lot of Faroese people because we stayed offshore. But in 2011, I had the pleasure to meet hundreds of Faroese people. And I realized that there was a mutual diabolization between the Faroese people and Sea Shepherd. So many of the Faroese people had an image of Sea Shepherd that was not fit to the truth. They didn't really understand why we were coming, and we had some expectation that we would be welcomed in a much, much worse way than what was the case. We had some very good interactions with people, and we realized that seeds of change are already here in Faroese minds. It's just that it is taking too long. The grind has to stop. It should have stopped already. And I know that many Faroese people know that in their hearts and minds. The problem is the people who feel that way don't fight forward against it. And the people who want to go on, they do fight for the grind to go on, to continue. So this is the reason why we are here. We are the ones coming from outside to fight against the Greens actively, and hopefully we can gather some local support here, because we know that it is possible. There are people changing their minds. People realize that this is no more necessary. It was the case hundreds of years before, when the pirates will save the Faroese lives, because those islands are so isolated. Today, this is no more a necessity. The only thing that is kept from the tradition is the killing. And it's not, even the killing is not traditional anymore. I mean, you are using the most modern techniques to kill whales in a way that was not before. I mean, yeah, I think the link between the Faroese people and the pilot whales is strong, because those whales allow the Faroese people to survive all those years. So maybe the nature of this relationship could change. And hopefully, we're not here in a position where we want to educate the Faroese people, but really show them the pilot whales the way we see them. Maybe try to bring out some empathy. People understand when we tell them how like us the pilot whales are. People understand it. And why inflicting so much pain to such sentient being if it's not necessary? So maybe this can change, and this place can become, well, the paradise on earth that it is, and that is being stained by the blood of the pilot whales. So hopefully we can help bring out some change together with the local population here, and not against it.
Okay, you ready to show the logo?
Or do we want to answer questions first? Do you want to show the logo first?
I think.
It'll take just a second here.
So Scott West will show the logo that Captain Paul Watson has approved. This will be the logo for Operation Grindstop 2014 from this point onward.
And once we get it up onto digital media, there'll be links available to it.
Hade sen ut on nästa säga. Riktigt lägga mycket att köra.
If you need another opportunity to photograph it, we will certainly provide that.
We're willing to open for questions if anybody has any questions.
Yeah, so you said that that it's no longer necessary as it was in the old days, as the whales were an important source of food. But as I understand it, they're still an important source of food today. And when the grind happens, the meat is shared amongst the local community without any money involved. That's what I've been told.
Yes, this is true, but at the same time, well, everybody pretty much knows how polluted the meat is and how dangerous it is for public health. All the people we've talked to, and those are hundreds, did tell us that nowadays they eat pilot whale on very special occasions, which is once or twice a year. And we made a rapid calculation. If this is true for the 46,000 inhabitants of those islands, then they would need to kill 36 pilot whales a year, and yet they kill 1,500. So there is no question that this killing is unnecessary and that many pilot whales die for nothing. Something that you eat as a delicacy once or twice a year is not a major source of food, and it's not necessary.
There may have been a time when humans needed to consume the whale to survive here. That time has now long passed. If you go around the Faroe Islands, you see that it enjoys a very high standard of living. There is absolutely no need whatsoever for pilot whale as a food source. Nobody will go hungry. Certainly no one will starve to death if not another pilot whale is killed here.
I have heard from some Faroese people that after your operation here in 2011, the interest in the grind of young Faroese people has actually increased. So could it also be that the Operation Grind Stop has some counterproductive, is counterproductive to what you actually want to achieve?
Well, that's certainly a possibility, but we've been having many conversations while we've been here, talking to a lot of young people, and what we constantly are hearing is that the young people just aren't interested in participating or doing this. They may not be willing to speak up against it because that would cause them to be ostracized by their communities or even their families. But the young people we're talking to are saying they're not interested in this. They're not interested in having their country's name attached to such a stain. I was here in 2011 during that campaign. I spent several weeks here among the community while it was going on. No one knew I was Sea Shepherd at the time, so I was listening and talking to people. There was a great deal of concern about the Faroe Islands becoming known as Taiji, the same way that Taiji, Japan, now has a terrible stain upon it because of the dolphin slaughter there. There's a great deal of interest in that not happening to the Faroe Islands, and I think the young people are concerned about that. And it is certainly up to the Faroese people as to whether or not the Faroe Islands are going to be known as a lovely and wonderful place to visit, or if it's going to be known as a place of horror and insanity and be called the Taiji of the North.
I have a question. Are you willing to use physical violence against the local people who are participating in the killings?
We will not utilize physical violence. We will place ourselves in harm's way. Now, obviously, if I'm assaulted, I will defend myself, but I am not going to attack anyone, and none of our team is going to attack anyone.
How are you going to interfere?
I'm sorry?
How are you going to interfere in the killings?
Well, if I have to, I will get down in the water between a knife and a whale. I've seen too many cetaceans die, and I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Are everyone at your crew, do they have the same opinion as you have?
I can't speak for all 500 volunteers. I know many have the same opinion. All of our volunteers who go to the Southern Ocean have all committed to being willing to die for a whale in that campaign. The people who volunteer with Sea Shepherd know who we are and how we operate. I assume that most have that same mentality.
How many people do you have on the islands now?
Right now, the ground forces number about 48. Lam, you can speak to the sea forces.
Right now we are 22 people.
And you're talking about 300. When are the other coming?
This will be over the summer. They're not. There won't be 500 here at one time.
Okay. How many are going to be here at most?
I would say most on any one day, maybe 100.
Good luck.
Thank you. Now let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If I go down and put myself between a grinder and a whale, what will happen to me?
I would say you're a very stupid man.
Yeah, okay, people have said that, but what will happen to me if that happens?
You could get killed.
Okay.
For the past 10 years, we've been showing the Japanese whaling industry down in Antarctica exactly how uncompromising and we are, and that we're always willing to stand our ground when what is on the table is the question of life or death for whales and for cetaceans. The Japanese whalers certainly know that we are relentless. We're open, we're kind people, we're open for discussion and debate here, but if a Grindadrop takes place, then we will certainly show the Faroese whale killers how uncompromising we are.
So you're telling me a Faroese might be willing to commit murder?
No, just if you're in between the whale and the knife.
That would then
If
be
you're
murder.
throwing yourself in between. No, of course we, I would not speak, I'm a journalist, so I will not speak for the Faroese people, but of course we like people, human beings more than whales. So...
And I've heard that often, and when I've expressed this to many of the Faroese I've spoken with, that we view the whales the same way we would view a human, that to kill a whale is murder. I have the same reaction. If someone were to attempt to kill you, I would interfere. That is my nature. It's also my background as a law enforcement officer. I've risked my life every day for 25 years. So that is nothing new, and it is how I operate.
But you are trained to defend people, humans.
I am trained to defend those who cannot defend themselves. And that is why, personally, why I am here.
But just to add something about this, we'll do everything we can to avoid this scenario. So we'll try to intervene a long time before it does happen. So we'll try to stop even a drive from happening. Because we know that the latest we intervene and the most chaotic it's going to be. So the whole point is to avoid that situation to happen.
So you're using your boats to interfere when they're driving the grind in?
We'll use the boats to stop the grind as early as possible.
Do you have any material? Do you have any weapons? You don't have weapons, but do you have anything else? You know.
We do have what we need to be effective.
Bombs, water bombs,
no.
and stuff.
Water bombs?
Yeah, I don't know.
We have some useful to be effective.
I hope I didn't give you a good idea there. Fireworks, water
No,
fireworks.
we know what we're doing and we know our limits, so we don't have to be violent to be effective.
And we're certainly not interested in seeing anyone harmed.
Okay.
But if you interfere at Grint, you are doing something illegal and you will be arrested.
Well, that's a very small price to pay.
That's something we're ready for.
Yes, then what do you do for the next Grint that comes?
Well, there will be others to take my place.
How many?
As many as necessary. Believe me, the feeling around the world by most humans is that whales need to be protected, that this is an aberration, and so I think there are many, particularly if I'm killed. I think you would be surprised by how many who would come in.
You won't be killed.
No, you won't be killed. Last time you were here, there was no grind.
There was no grind while we were here. And I was operating among the community, not a part of Sea Shepherd, and I kept hearing over and over, the reason there was no grind is because the Faroese authorities did not want to see the Faroe Islands end up like Taiji. Just so you know, I started the Taiji campaign. So,
yeah, but you must know that the whale killing on Faroe Islands is not the same way as it is in Beijing.
no, it is not the same way, but it ends in the same result. Then it must stop.
I think people need to understand, I mean, they focus on the fact that the killing itself is quick. There's been this book, the 2-minute book that has been published. But as we said before, pilot whales are very intelligent and conscious creatures. And actually the worst thing for them is not the killing itself, it's everything that happens before, when they are driven to the hunting base and when they understand that they are trapped between the beach and the ocean, and when they start to see each other die. This is the worst thing. The panic that they go through, the pain is there. And actually I see the actual killing like the relief of their pain. So it's a much longer agony than just the knife. And this is just when things are done right? But the killing that happened in Klaksvik that Peter has witnessed was horrible, even worse than everything that happened before. So even when it happens the right way according to the actual rules of the Green, it is a nightmare a long time before the killing, because those are very sentient and conscious creatures. They risk their lives for each other. They are very helpful towards each other. They protect each other. They protect their youngest one, the harmed ones. They feed their wicked ones. So how can they feel when they see each other die? And the fact that when one drop of blood is in the water, they don't run away. It shows how bonded they are to each other. They are more bonded than most of us are with each other. They wouldn't even run away for their own lives if their family is dying. This is the worst part to me.
Any other questions?
Let's say no hunt is happening this year, like the last time you were here. So while you're here, no hunt is happening. But then what next year and the year after? What is your long-term perspective?
Well, certainly if no whales are killed while we are here this summer, that's a good thing, because all those hundreds potentially lives are saved. It'll be certainly up to the Faroese people what happens after we leave. We haven't made a decision yet about whether we would return next summer or the summer after that. I think it depends a lot on what happens. Now, as you well know, these campaigns are certainly expensive, so we have to take that into account, but this is the type of thing that the people who support and donate to Sea Shepherd want us to do. And on that note, I will say that Sea Shepherd United States is sponsoring the ground campaign. Sea Shepherd France is sponsoring the sea campaign, but that's not to mean that Sea Shepherd supporters from all over the world are still contributing through Sea Shepherd Global and their own entities for us to be here.
I was just wondering about, because you want the hunt to stop, obviously,
yes,
for good, but as it seems, the long-term changes are not really happening. It's basically short term, so no hunt.
Well, we do agree with what we've been told, is that the Grin will eventually come to an end, because as the younger generation comes up and does not take the place of the older in the Grin, we think it's unfortunate to just wait and allow that to happen for all of the whales that would be killed in the meantime. Also, there are many, many problems affecting the world's oceans and the life in them. Sea Shepherd is a small organization. We have many issues that we want to address and help solve. So all of these things will go into factoring our decision as to whether we will return.
But hopefully, the sooner the better. We don't have to come here anymore to have no more Grin. And that's what I was talking about with the seeds of change that are in people's minds. Yeah, one day will come when we don't have to come anymore here. Hopefully sooner than later.
Did you try to talk to? Did you try to talk to local politicians, or did they talk to you? Were there any communication?
I've made some attempts to talk to local politicians. They were rebuffed, but I'm certainly open. All of us are open. We would be happy to talk to the politicians. I am cooperating with the police. That's my nature with my background. I'm more than happy to cooperate with the police. I know the types of information that they need and want. I make it very easy for them. So we have nothing to hide. We'd be happy to talk with any politician or civic leader or police officer or medical person or any citizen that would like to talk to us. We're very open. We're very approachable. All of our people that are operating around the country are happy to talk to people. Feel free to walk up to them and talk to them.
May I ask what's the difference between the bowhead hunts, Alaska, or the other species like belugas and narwhals in Alaska in the U.S. ground and the Grin here?
Well, under international and U.S. law, subsistence hunting of whales up in Alaska in those waters is currently legal. It is a very small take. It is for subsistence. Obviously, we don't want to see those whales killed, but when you look at the impact that we can have and where we put our resources, we feel that attacking illegal whaling in the Southern Ocean, as Japan does, the mass slaughter of pilot whales here for no good reason, these are where we feel we should put our efforts to have the most, as they say in the United States, bang for our buck.
And you have to remember, this is the largest slaughter of marine mammals in Europe. So it is a big issue.
Okay, well, we'll have the Columbus will now set sail, I think, on its first patrol of the Faroe Islands. I think that concludes our press conference. We're happy to answer any other questions for the rest of the morning as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.